The topic is grocery logistics, and my guest today is Sean Coakley. He is Chief Commercial Officer with Capstone Logistics. Hi, Sean.
Good morning.
Welcome. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for the invitation.
What are the challenges, logistically, of course, that grocers are facing today post-COVID?
Yeah, obviously everyone's dealing with a broad range of challenges, whether it be labor management, location, but one of the biggest in the grocery industry is home delivery. So delivery of groceries, whether it's to store for consumer pickup or delivery direct to the home. So that challenge, many of them have had as COVID came and there was a large spike in e-commerce orders. We're struggling to try and find an answer to that solution and really investigated several options. Now that COVID is dying down, those e-commerce orders are leveling off. It's giving them a little more time to investigate the market, research some options, and work through then how best to address those challenges.
In other words, catch their breath a little bit.
Absolutely.
Look around and see what the solutions there might be. Isn't it interesting, though, that before COVID, there were so many people that would never consider buying their groceries online. It was like one of the last holdouts in terms of heavy e-commerce activity. Do you think now, as you say, with COVID abating a little bit, that people who did it for the first time are going to continue to do it because they like it, they realize that it actually is convenient? Or do you think a lot of people will go back to just, go back to the brick and mortar?
Yeah, there's definitely been an evolution in the demand. So, for instance, people are continuing to order via e-com, and there continues to be a growth in home delivery, but that growth is certainly not as significant as it was during the COVID years.
Right.
It has become more steady growth, which is healthy growth. So yeah, we absolutely do see that market continuing to grow. Now, the demands are changing. So where there was some initial demand for, we'll call it immediate delivery, under an hour, under 30-minute type delivery, some of that demand is starting to taper off, understanding the costs and the environmental impacts of that type of immediate delivery versus exploring options for more scheduled routine deliveries where you still have your groceries brought to your home, but in a little more standard regimented method.
Yeah, I mean, we tried that way back around 2000. There were companies like Webvan and the like that started that grocery thing. It didn't take then. Does take now, I guess. But it's interesting, you talk about the cost. I mean, how can logistics companies and the grocers that they serve do this in an economical way? The cost must be enormous. I mean, how can they do it in a profitable manner?
Certainly, and the costs are significant, but unlike back in the early 2000s, there's a lot of technology these days around automation and how to run, whether it's a dark store or micro-fulfillment centers that are local, specialized operations that allow you to more efficiently pick an order. A lot of technology around AI and e-commerce optimization today and route optimization that didn't exist back then that allows you to minimize your costs, maximize your efficiencies. So there are a lot of solutions in the market, but a lot of companies looked to crowdsourced marketplaces too as well. So the Instacarts of the world, the DoorDashes of the world, to try and create some density and try and lower their costs by leveraging those marketplaces. Unfortunately, what many of those customers have learned or retailers have learned is that they potentially also lose the relationship with the customer when they leverage those types of products. And so there is an evolution now, a secondary evolution occurring where they're stepping back, evaluating what's the best model for their brand and exploring alternatives to, how do I deliver in a cost-efficient manner while still providing the same level of service that differentiates myself versus all the others in the field.
You reference an interesting, more recent phenomenon, and that is the rise of the so-called micro-fulfillment centers, the localized distribution as opposed to the reliance on these gigantic centralized warehouses. That is, in fact, is that a response? I mean, that could be even more costly, I would think. But how do you make that work?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities to leverage real estate, for example, that retailers already own, for instance, so the dark store concept.
Or sharing within the same space as an actual going store, like a
That's
store
correct,
that's open.
correct.
Right.
Consolidating with other retailers in one location. But you also have to remember micro-fulfillment centers are exactly that, micro. They're much smaller facilities.
Right.
The labor requirement is relatively small, but there is a broad range of solutions out there. There are those retailers out there that are building large, dedicated e-commerce fulfillment centers and investing significant amount of money in that model. And the reason they're doing that, though, is they're looking to take share, right? They're growing their geographic footprint into states, into regions where they have never existed today, and doing it solely through their e-commerce model. That alone is allowing them to take share within those markets and gain new sales that they would have never had access to prior to their e-commerce micro-fulfillment model.
What is the state of the art in technology that supports the logistics aspect of grocery fulfillment? What kind of new solutions are out there that make it possible now that didn't make it possible 20 years ago, say?
Certainly. I mean, it's an ongoing evolution for sure, like technology always is. But within micro-fulfillment center, there's a myriad of automation opportunities, whether you're talking an auto store or an Ocado type hive situation, which are great for smaller orders, or you're talking advanced conveyor and pick methodologies that may be able to support a broader range of products, but maybe a little less efficient around and require a little more labor. So, you know, those technologies, and again, I mentioned the optimization. Don't ever forget the value of route optimization. So being able to receive those e-commerce orders and optimize both within the picking system, whether that's an automated system or a manual system, and then being able to choose the routes that go on from a delivery aspect and optimize that delivery routing, it certainly helps lower those costs as well.
Well, Sean, thank you so much for your insights into what's going on in the world of grocery logistics. I really appreciate that. I would like to take a moment, though, to ask you a little bit about Capstone Logistics specifically. Where do you guys fit in? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, so Capstone, if you're not aware, we're one of the largest end-to-end logistics companies in the country. One of our specialties is grocery logistics. We run several warehouses across the country, hundreds of warehouses for grocery retailers, as well as do last mile delivery ourselves. But what's unique in this market, and what we've been working a lot with grocery retailers these days, is that it is designing the hybrid model, where instead of where they today have perhaps released their ownership of the customer experience to third parties, crowdsourced third parties, we're helping them bring that experience and that customer ownership back in-house and helping them white label a delivery solution so they keep the data, they keep that relationship with the customer, but then they gain the efficiencies and productivity of a third-party logistics company such as Capstone, and we give them kind of that best of both worlds. So that's where we exist within this marketplace
So
today.
the brand identity remains visible to the customer.
It's
It
a
doesn't
branded
get lost.
solution for the retailer, absolutely. It's a branded solution. It's a high-touch, high-service solution where they can differentiate themselves all the way to the customer's door. They ensure that the customer's choices are taken into account when that delivery is made, and you know that's their differentiator, right? That allows them to have a consistent experience from store to home, and that's the model we specialize in. Help bring efficiency and productivity to the retailer, white label it with their branding, and help them drive down the costs at the same time.
Sean, thank you very much for speaking with me today. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've been speaking with Sean Coakley of Capstone Logistics. Thank you very much for watching.